Welcome to the Road Trip Podcast. We have a super special episode for you today. Everyone's been talking about what the health, this whole meat hysteria thing. So we're going to break down the documentary and give you the truth about what in it is accurate and what is not. Now, we're about 7 minutes in.
Yeah, we just started watching it. We thought it would be fun to just talk about it as we watch it. Just get our first impression.
Yeah, so pretty much so far we know that the guys whose documentary it is, he's got a lot of family disease, so he's super health conscious. He's been, since he was a kid, just obsessing about everything, trying to follow all the proper advice. And so the first red flag I got was that he was surprised when he found out that heavily processed meats are not healthy for you. Yeah. He's like, the foods I grew up on, the foods that I was always consuming,
because I was so health conscious.
Yeah, because it's so
like hot dogs,
deli meats, bacon,
Lunchables, bacon.
Yeah.
Well, apparently they're not healthy. I'm so surprised. I was always taught they were healthy.
I know, and those things are packed with tons of
Who's teaching that? Nobody
stuff.
teaches that. Yeah, they're packed full of chemicals,
yeah,
preservatives, and it's just shit meat. It's not even real.
And they're meat. All those meats are very they're all, none of them are lean cuts. They're all very fatty.
But all of them are with like the stuff that you get. They'll literally like grab it off the floor of the factory and just shove it into the hot dog machine, like in like dead rats and rat poop and shit.
Oh man, they're all.
It's not even. They're like not even talking about food. They're talking about something else.
Yeah. So that was the first kind of thing we noticed, and then it went on and basically talked about the massive issue we have right now with diabetes. 1 in 3 Americans are going to have diabetes at some point, is what they're telling us.
It's true.
Yeah.
Definitely. But I think it's even probably higher than that, because I saw a stat that at right now, like 74% of Americans are overweight. So there's probably, if there's that high of percentage.
The only problem with that statistic is that they would say that you're overweight. Or
yeah,
you're 200 pounds.
Yeah, it's measured probably on the BMI.
Yeah. So it's like.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit skewed.
So, but there's not too many guys that are that muscular. But the BMI thing is kind of. So, I mean, because if you walk outside, there's a lot of people that are overweight, but it's not like we're walking around. It's like we're at a Walmart in mid-America.
Yeah, like around here, Toronto's pretty, like a big city. There's not that many, like, overweight people.
Yeah.
But if you go to, like, a normal place, not a big city, it's pretty common. It's actually less common to see someone who's in really good shape.
Go to a theme park and you get a different sample size.
Disneyland or something, yeah.
That's true. No, it is a massive problem. So they're painting the picture for like this state of emergency with all this disease that's going on in the healthcare industry. And then they're probably and then he wanted to do an interview with some woman at the cancer organization, and when she found out that he wanted to interview her about the connection with food and cancer, she called off the interview. So I guess he's trying to paint the picture that the medical industry doesn't want to talk about food and its importance in health.
Yeah, which is interesting because they're obviously, this is like a pro-vegan movie, but they go in with the more benign thing where they like slip in with the food first. Yeah. Where everyone agrees, like I would agree with all this in terms of food is the cause of cancer because people eat shit food. But they're like slipping it in nice and sly, and then they're gonna paint the picture for the vegan argument. Yeah,
they're gonna get into some vegan stuff. So let's just go with the flow. The first thing we saw too is the first person they introduced you to struggling with diabetes. Right, this was someone that is like no fault to. I mean, I'm not saying anything bad, but this person was heavily overweight. So.
Yeah, he's like 300 pounds.
260, 300 pounds, very overweight. Probably inactive, probably does all the things you shouldn't do. So then they're going to pick one thing. Oh, this person also eats meat. It's the meat that gave them diabetes, not the unhealthy.
Not the fact overeating.
Not the fact that he's consuming,
and chemicals
way too much and he, he's obese. That person, people have when they hear, 2 out of 3 Americans are overweight, they don't realize that overweight could just be a little bit extra fat. But that's well above obesity as far as the medical definition. So they're picking a very, very, very heavy person to support their vegan thing. All right, let's get into it.
In the next 25 years, 1 out of every 3 Americans will have diabetes. My name's Michael Abdallah.
Good thing I'm Canadian.
The Canadians won't have the diabetes.
No. 10 years ago with diabetes, and 8 years ago I had 2 stents put in. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. You're just like out of options, and you don't know what to do. You're taking medicine. You listen to this doctor, and the cardiologist says take this.
You know what kind of sucks is like so many people are just not educated at all about nutrition.
Yeah.
Like this guy has no fucking clue.
What's going on here? It's a real challenging thing, and it's something that you don't want to get it. You just don't want to get it. Government and media almost exclusively blame lack of exercise and sugary foods as a cause of diabetes. But I wanted to talk with an actual expert on the role of diet and diabetes. I went to speak with premier physician, diabetes expert, and researcher, Dr. Neil Barnard. What role does sugar play in causing diabetes?
Drives me crazy. Diabetes is not and never was caused by eating a high carbohydrate diet, and it's not caused by eating sugar. The cause of diabetes is a diet that builds up the amount of fat into the blood. I'm talking about a typical meat-based, animal-based diet.
No, that's not. Like I agree with half of what he said. So I agree with the sugars thing.
Yeah.
Like the carbohydrates are not. They don't. It does not cause diabetes. Like for example, actually, if anyone wants to look more into that, Chris Masterjohn, who's a PhD in biochemistry, he does a really good job of like talking about that concept in human biochemistry, how it has way more to do with energy balance, for example, overeating, and much less to do with carbohydrates or sugar in general,
or even fat, as long as energy balance.
Energy balance matters more than any macronutrient.
Right.
But then the whole like meat thing is interesting. It's interesting too because
he's talking like, I think what he really means is if you're eating a massive calorie surplus with lots of meat and fat, that's going to be problematic.
But that's not the same thing. Like,
I know.
You could eat a massive calorie surplus of anything.
Yeah.
And it will have a similar effect on your body.
Being overweight is the issue.
Exactly. Because I found the more I get into researching the keto diet and like a fatty acid ketone metabolism, it's interesting because it seems to cause like pre-diabetic symptoms. Which is weird and it just kind of like goes against logic, but it's almost like he has a point with the fatty acid metabolism thing, but when it's done over an extended period of time, like years, the body actually stops using blood sugar or using glucose and like kind of forgets how to use it, and that's why people can have the terrible symptoms when they start to like eat. They go binge on a bunch of donuts or something, right? But the thing is, I guess he's correlating that with eating meat, which I guess is not. It's not exactly the same thing at all.
Right. He's making a huge correlation. I mean, how many lean, fit, healthy people do you know that have diabetes? That get type 2 diabetes? It's not. No. It's people that are super, overweight. Well, let's keep going.
Yeah.
You find they're building up tiny particles of fat that's causing insulin resistance. What that means is,
so even insulin resistance, that's an issue of being overweight, obese, eating way too much food. You don't get insulin resistant when you have so much insulin flooding through your body, because insulin's secreted when you eat a lot of food, especially carbohydrates. But when you're continually eat way too much, your body isn't able to handle insulin as well. It becomes resistant to it because there's just way too much.
It's almost like they're ignoring the energy balance in general.
They're
ignoring calories.
Well, you know what? I feel like a lot of people, they don't even want to talk about calories because it's kind of it's so easy to say don't eat this food, but then it's more nuanced to say, okay, well, don't eat too much. And then people are like, well, what's too much? You can't give you you can't just tell everyone eat this many calories because people are different.
Yeah. It's like it just doesn't fit the agenda, I guess.
They're trying to oversimplify. Let's see.
That is naturally from the foods that you're eating can't get into the cells where it belongs. It builds up in the blood, and that's diabetes.
I had never heard that meat was associated.
They didn't say why meat.
Yeah, that was like
causes diabetes.
That was absolutely They didn't say why meat causes diabetes, and that was like the most non-scientific description of diabetes I've ever heard.
It's like a guy, the matadors, the bull. It's like they have this kind of little cape, and they don't actually. They say some stuff, and then they don't explain, and then they say meat's bad.
Science.
Meat. Okay.
All right. Let's
all right.
Causing diabetes. We had always been told that sugar or obesity caused it. Renowned weight loss bariatric surgeon.
Wait, did they disprove that obesity caused it?
Everyone thinks that
the sugar obesity caused it?
No, he said the obesity.
In that epic study, 500,000 people,
carbs consumption was inversely related with diabetes. In other words, the more carbs someone ate, the less diabetes they had. But meat was strong.
That's interesting.
But then here's also the thing is that they don't know how many carbs they ate. Are they tracking their food intake like in a medical lab?
It's really hard on these studies, yeah, because a lot of these studies are self-reported because they have to have people like out doing their life, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to track someone over a long period of time in a lab because it's actually really expensive. Where you gotta like put them up in a hotel or like whatever. You gotta keep them in the lab.
And people do not report their food intake accurately.
No, that's been proven.
And skinny people tend to overestimate how much they ate, and overweight people tend to underestimate because they feel guilty.
Yeah.
You know, and then then it's like, you know, you gotta take this.
It's kind of a limitation of that kind of study.
Yeah, you gotta take that with a whole grain of salt.
But it's also like, I could still see what he's saying though. Like if you're not in a calorie surplus, the amount of carbohydrates doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There's plenty of research showing what he's actually just saying right now. Like people that eat a higher carbohydrate diet can still maintain lean body weight.
Yeah, it was also kind of strange how the first kind of doctor, they were talking about like processed sugars, and then he was talking about carbs. It's like, well, you know, eating, you know, added sugar isn't good.
Well, they're
trying to make added sugar seem healthy.
They're making these correlations with, like, they're making these big jumps.
Yeah.
Between stuff. Oh, processed meats, like a hot dog or like a Lunchables, is the same as grass-fed beef.
Right.
They're making this jump, you know?
And then they're lumping even carbohydrates into like, added sugars and
the carbohydrates means donuts.
Yeah.
No, not really.
Get that aha moment. The starches, the carbs are good for you. They're not bad for you. This idea that carbs make you fat is utterly ridiculous.
That's true.
I agree with that too. Yeah.
Fat in and of themselves.
But now they're going to be like the meat.
Just talk about the calories. I wonder if they'll ever talk about calories.
They will not
in the whole thing.
at all.
Now eat fat.
Or about being overweight.
Your body can't turn those
carbs. Oh, he's blaming it on fat.
Into fat unless you're really overdoing the calories. Obesity,
oh, he said calories.
You are at much higher risk of getting cancer. You're almost certainly
when you're obese.
Yeah, this guy's sounds right.
We all want everybody to be comfortable with our bodies, but this movement to be comfortable with our bodies has made us comfortable with being sick, and that's a huge problem.
That guy was right. Yeah,
he's right.
I like it.
People, just about every disease in there is because of what people are eating. Here's the thing.
True.
If I eat a sugary cookie,
oh, this guy again.
You in like the Trojan horse, but waiting inside that cookie is a huge load of butter or shortening.
Waiting in the cookie.
And that's the part that leads to the diabetes. It's the fatty foods, not really so much.
No, you freaking idiot!
It's the fact that
fucking idiot
that cookies have each cookie has like 500 calories, and you eat a ton of them because it's fucking cookie. And it's delicious.
It's that is. Oh my god!
They make these big logic jumps that it's just a broken logic.
Yeah.
Like it sounds good, and then bam.
The fat doesn't make you fat. The sugar doesn't make you fat. It's eating too much of any of it that will make you fat. But he seems to just. Oh my god, this is bad.
Oh, keep going.
Okay.
God. There's no nutrients in it. It's excess calories.
There's no nutrients in the added sugar. Okay. So.
Sugar, you don't get inflammation right away. When you eat sugar, you're not getting plaques forming in your vessels. When you're eating sugar, your body's going to store most of it as glycogen or burn it as calories.
This guy's actually right.
Yeah, this guy's right.
He's right. I like this guy.
Has taken all the focus off meat, dairy, eggs, pork, turkey, chicken.
People need to understand. You know, if their child gets diabetes, you've just taken 19 years off their lifespan. We're talking life and death.
I realized there was so much more about diet and disease that I had never learned. It felt as if this information had been practically withheld. Processed meat causes cancer. Sugar doesn't cause diabetes. I had doubt about the claims these doctors were making, so I did some searching on my own. Harvard researchers looked at 9 prospective studies finding that just one serving of processed meat per day increased risk of developing diabetes by 51%.
They're using processed meat at this whole thing. Like,
and then
it's not the same thing.
And then here's the thing with this study is that there's the whole issue is that people that are more likely to eat processed meat, they're more likely to smoke cigarettes, not exercise, overeat food.
Yeah.
So, you know,
like someone who's eating a bunch of bologna sandwiches, like they're not exactly the healthiest person.
So you can't control for all these other variables, so you can't really make an accurate conclusion. Like, you know, someone that's healthy, that's fit, that's exercising, that's taking care of themselves, if they have a little bacon a couple times a week, it's just not an issue.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But then it's...
...developing in diabetes became undeniable. But when I went on the leading diabetes organization's website, the American Diabetes Association, not only did they not have this information front and center, they were featuring recipes for red and processed meat. And on their recipes for...
That looks good, eh?
Yeah.
That's good. We should make that.
Oh, look.
Bacon wrapped shrimp. I love it.
Alright, send an email to the American Diabetes Association, see if they'll get back to us. As destructive
Oh,
as
and he does this
diabetes
kind of
is,
thing where
it
he's
also
like,
compares
if they don't get back to me, it means they have
over
something to
72
hide.
million
That'd actually be like a pretty good meal. Like the shrimp's super lean, the bacon's fattier. Like it'd be filling.
Yeah,
You hit your
you
macros.
get good quality.
The stew looked pretty good.
from this disease.
This beef
The
stew
amount
looks
of
awesome.
people who die from cardiovascular disease is the equivalent of 4 jumbo jets crashing every single hour.
What is?
Single year,
Look at
every
this.
single year.
Oh my gosh.
Is that supposed to? Wow. Like is that?
Who thinks of that kind of metaphor?
That was the worst.
This is a
metaphor.
psychopath.
Just give me a percentage of the human population. Don't tell me jumbo jets.
All right, they have another case study who's
Yeah.
morbidly
because I had
obese.
a very hard time
Yeah.
breathing. And while there, she did some blood work, and one of the tests was C-reactive protein, and on a scale there was a scale of 1 to 3, 1 being low for cardiac event, 3 being high for cardiac event, and my number was 10.82.
What does that mean?
That means I am on the road for a heart attack, and she said probably within the next 30 days.
Because this woman that's there's like 310 pounds.
That's pretty accurate. How do you know that? You got the eye. Yeah, she's over 300 pounds for sure.
Yeah, So yeah, being morbidly obese is a recipe for heart disease.
Mm-hmm.
30 days?
30 days if I'm going the way I was going. I take this for my heart arrhythmia. Take this for pain. Oxycodone for pain.
Damn, she's on some
And
opiates too.
Lorazepam for stress. Cyclobenzapine for a muscle relaxer.
Damn.
Also take Topamax and Prozac. And I also use a CPAP machine to help me breathe. And my asthma has been so bad this past year.
It's horrible.
I use it during the day as well to get some air.
Oh my god.
I am tired when I wake up. I'm tired during the day. I take a nap. I'm still tired. I can't breathe. And
Oh my
But
god.
they're
I
gonna
know I
paint
need
this
to make
picture
a
that
change.
meat caused this.
for my health,
We'll see.
or else I'm not going to be here for my
Not
family.
overeating donuts.
Oh my god.
When
What
you
a
speak of
horrible.
heart disease, I would say the role of alcohol is
That's
pretty
brutal.
small. The role of sugar is very small too. Smoking is big. The good news is that most people have quit or never did smoke. The problem with animal-based diet, its contribution to heart disease is huge and it is pervasive. All this expensive.
Explain why.
Yeah, there's no way. Yeah, shit.
Just
This
give
guy-
him the title of MD, and then just
People
say whatever
listen.
you want, and
Yeah.
don't back it up.
Yeah, he's got a little formula on these little sound bites. He goes in, he says like all these kind of agreeable things,
Yeah.
and then he goes in meat,
And it's
so-
undeniable. The effects of meat is undeniable.
undeniable without any actual evidence. I'm just gonna make the jump.
All right, let's keep going. But it's funny because people fall for this stuff.
Yeah.
They're watching this like, oh my god, because they build up this case. Oh my god, look, show this obese woman, her life is over, and then they'll just show all this hysteria, and then they'll be like, just have one person say, oh, meat is bad for you, and they're like, oh my god, it's like a scarecrow argument.
Yeah.
Procedures, bypasses, medication, none of which has one solitary single thing to do with the causation of the illness. So you die of a completely benign, foodborne illness that never had its causation treated.
When we eat these kind of dead meat bacteria toxins, within minutes, you get this burst of inflammation within your system, such that you basically paralyze your arteries. You get the stiffening of the arteries, their inability to relax normally in half. So it's not like decades down the road eating unhealthy, there'll be some damage. No, we're talking damage right then and there, within minutes of it going into our mouth.
Many people.
So he was talking about
are given a
toxins.
diagnosis of Alzheimer's
Which I would agree.
disease
Like,
when it's not
if you
true
eat
Alzheimer's
endocrine
at all.
disrupting chemicals, if you eat,
People suffer dementia due to their
bunch of
tiny
preservatives,
blood
if you
vessels in
eat
the brain clogging
a bunch
up,
of
and
excess
then
hormones that are
nerve
pumped
cells
into your
get
food,
shortchanged
like
off
meat,
in
for
the
example,
blood. And guess where
then of
the
course, yeah, you're gonna have an
blood
adverse
comes
reaction.
from? Those little
It's
tiny
agreeable.
arteries are clogging up from that steady stream of
They're
cholesterol
talking about
that's
shitty
Really
quality
quite
food.
clear from the standpoint of cancer and the standpoint of cardiovascular disease that animal protein plays an enormous role. Is chicken better?
question whether you want to be shot or hung. The flesh food that I would eliminate from the American diet would be poultry, would be turkey and chicken. A brilliant advertising campaign has convinced people.
I'd say, like, I would actually agree that chicken or poultry in general is like the worst. It has the most amount of hormones pumped into it in terms of these like commercial chickens and stuff. So it's pretty shitty. Like if you don't have good chicken,
are clear-cut carcinogens, and they can form in any kind of meat as it's heated, as it's cooked. But by far the biggest source is chicken. We sent researchers into fast food and family restaurants. Not only were there carcinogens in every single restaurant, but we found them in every single.
Okay, showing McDonald's and KFC.
If somebody brings their family,
is this rocket science?
They have 30 ingredients in their French fries.
If you're selling carcinogens to people, you've got to warn them that they're in there.
Okay, so I would agree with like this. Of course, McDonald's and KFC is not healthy. How is this rocket science? It should not be groundbreaking news.
When a Harvard University study showed that men with prostate cancer who eat large amounts of chicken increased their risk of the disease progressing 4 times.
Oh, you know why? You know why?
Why?
Because they pump so many hormones into those chickens.
Mm-hmm.
It's because prostate cancer is caused by estrogen. It's not caused by testosterone. It's caused by estrogen, excess estrogen, which is a very, they always like basically relate testosterone to the prostate cancer because they have these poorly correlated studies that they do with men that are on testosterone therapy. The thing is that the guys they have very high estrogen levels actually, and they just don't report that stuff.
Right.
Like it's from like a lot of it's probably from these, like that study found a fourfold increase in prostate cancer in the guys who are eating tons and tons of chicken. I would not be surprised that that's true.
And one quick way to keep your estrogen lower is don't be overweight or obese, because
exactly.
Body fat releases estrogen.
Yep.
So if you're leaner, that's going to help. And then watch out for the hormones in some of these meats.
In America of cholesterol is chicken because of the volume of chicken. Chicken's become grilled chicken and organic chicken. It's machismo, but it has nearly as much cholesterol per gram as.
So the cholesterol thing still doesn't make any sense.
Eggs being close by. I never really thought about eggs much. I just thought of them as a standard.
The cholesterol argument's not like.
Let's solve the cholesterol argument when they start to get it more into it.
Smoking 5 cigarettes per day for life expectancy.
Okay, so apparently one egg is as bad as smoking 5 cigarettes every day.
Oh my god.
It is made to run a baby chicken for 21 days with no outside energy. It is pure fat and cholesterol. And when we put that into our bloodstream, it coats our red blood cells. Our blood gets thicker and more viscous.
Interesting backstory. I actually did a 3-day water fast at this guy's clinic, or he's one of the doctors at this clinic, and I went to one of his talks while I was there, and he gave this whole thing, and he went into it was like, started again like a little bit of kind of agreeable stuff, but then he just kind of escalated into this. He escalated into this completely non-scientific, and this is an MD, this dude, non-scientific argument about like just stuff that's been debunked for like 30 years about atherosclerosis and cholesterol. He just went down that rabbit hole, and I was like just sitting there. I was like, oh gosh. So I just went back to my room.
So what's the story with them with cholesterol and heart disease?
It's been debunked that it has nothing, like cholesterol itself has nothing directly correlated with heart disease.
Yeah. Even WebMD will say that too.
Yeah, even WebMD is like the most like
will say that
vanilla
there's
website.
No connection. Yeah. There's no connection with cholesterol.
The problem here is like this logic that keeps getting used where it's not even, it's just flawed logic. Like they jump these massive gaps, and then they also have this like guilty by association thing, where if something, for example, someone's morbidly obese, it's because they ate meat,
and then
they also they don't account for the fact that they ate like poorly shit quality meat.
6,000 calories.
They ate 6,000 calories.
And then it's also like
McDonald's.
It's not even just the meat. It's like having 4 cans of grapefruit soda is also really bad for you.
Anything that's gonna put you in like an excess of energy.
Crazy insulin surging all day long. You're they just want see. This is what we talked about on our podcast so much, especially our old podcast, is the industry always wants to blame something. They'll never look at context, the big picture. They always want to.
And they also never look at personal responsibility for anything.
Yeah,
it's always some like outside force that's controlling you. The big meat industry is trying to kill you. So you don't eat any more of their meat. Oh wait, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I know. And then every person they're going to show us in here that has diabetes or heart disease, they're all going to be very overweight.
Oh yeah.
Show
like
us a guy that eats, that works out, hard, that takes care of himself, or woman,
who eats meat,
that's lean,
who eats meat, and show us his blood work and show us how bad it is.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and then cholesterol has major important human processes.
Oh yeah. Every steroid hormone is derived from cholesterol.
So if you cut out your cholesterol completely, your body's not going to work at peak capacity as far as hormonal release.
For sure.
There's a reason why these foods.
So your body will try and make cholesterol from other things.
Right.
But what's happening is like it's not going to be as efficient as possible.
Right.
It's like if you get really deficient in any micronutrient, like any vitamin and mineral, your body's going to try and get it from somewhere else. So it'll start to like do these cascading processes to try and make that thing so it can fit into the gap.
It's not optimal.
What happened? Yeah, it's not optimal because what happens is over a decade, or as people get older and older with these deficiencies, their things just start to break down because they're leaching from resources that aren't meant to be giving that resource.
Right. Well, let's keep going. Hopefully we can go 5 minutes without having to stop it.
Yeah, it's just this might take forever.
The global dairy industry got together and meeted and explicitly agreed their agenda was to neutralize the negative impact of milk fat by regulators and medical professionals, unquote. So what did they do? They funded studies.
The main study that started the whole saturated fat media craze was funded by the National Dairy Council. The egg industry similarly funds.
I believe this stuff. This is all like all these associations and
councils
councils just fund all this propaganda.
Only when compared
These
to
fake
eating
studies.
a McDonald's sausage McMuffin. So what they're really saying is that eating eggs is just as bad as eating a McMuffin.
When you eat foods,
When you compare one
steak
thing.
or processed meat, a hot dog, you're not just getting saturated fat. You're also getting other additional
Don't
toxins
McMuffins
that are
have
in
eggs in
that
them?
food. There's heme iron, carcinogens, processing chemicals. This is all a lot more complicated than just looking at saturated fat.
The strategy
That's true.
is not on making the products any safer. The strategy is to just try to confuse the public, to introduce doubt. There's a famous tobacco industry memo. It's called "Doubt is Our Product." That's all they had to do. They didn't have to convince Americans that smoking was healthy. Right? They just had to introduce doubt. Then they would win. If there's just enough
Sounds like what they're doing with this
people gotta throw
podcast.
their hands up, what
Yeah, they're using the same strategy.
is their game.
I really don't think people thought what they ate led to heart disease. They think, oh, it's genetic, my parents had it. And I don't think people really think that what they ate led to diabetes. I think, oh, my parents had it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Cancer.
This guy said
People
a lot
have
of
bad
true stuff.
lifestyles
Yeah.
that they've inherited environmentally. They've been exposed to a certain way of eating and living that they've carried on into their adulthood, passed on to their children. That is why they go on to develop the same diseases that their parents
Showing more overweight,
had
obese
for
people.
them. But it is not inevitable.
Even if you have a genetic predisposition, doesn't mean it's going to necessarily manifest. And what determines whether it manifests or not?
This guy's the
those
founder of that
epigenetic variables,
fasting
things
clinic
that
I
you
went to.
the environmental factors, the dietary factors, the lifestyle factors.
So we can actually change the expression of genes, tumor suppressing genes, tumor activating genes, by what we eat, what we put into our
True.
body. So even if you've been dealt a bad genetic deck, you can still reshuffle it with diet.
True.
I had always thought that I would develop heart disease at a young age because both my dad and grandpa had heart attacks. I was taught that they were genetic, but their heart attacks probably had less to do with genes and more to do with their diets high in meat. That's why when I went on the American Heart Association's Heart Healthy Recipes page, I could not believe they had an entire section on beef recipes. This was just like the American
Hell
Cancer
yeah.
Society encouraging people to want carcinogens on their site. Meatloaf, pork.
Why are they going to who trusts these associations anyway?
I know.
He acts like they're supposed to be these benign organizations. The cancer association's in business as long as there's cancer.
What was that?
These associations are only in business as long as that disease exists.
Right.
A whole section on beef.
That's true.
That's it.
Recipes, and there's
Yeah.
also
So why does he
section
think
on
there's some
egg
kind of
recipes.
big resource?
There's such a strong
They should
link
be trying to
between
cure it.
beef, red meat, and heart disease.
I honestly don't know because I don't do that, I guess. That's not what I do.
So he called the IT guy.
He called their customer support line and he's asking him all these questions. And he's like, that's not my job, dude.
Bro, I just work on the servers.
And he's like, And then he's going to turn the camera. You see that?
See, they don't want to tell you.
But he'd have someone get in touch shortly. I was, however, able to talk to the president of the American College of Cardiology, Dr. Kim Williams.
Well, the American College of Cardiology is a 47,000 member and growing organization with a dedicated mission to reduce heart disease and to improve patients' lives. And if you look at the incidence of hypertension and diabetes and mortality in men, they actually get reduced as you go higher and higher in terms of how much you restrict animal products.
What about fish?
So fish is a little
that's the
different.
causation thing.
What about calories?
What about calories?
Yeah, why don't you talk about that?
What about being active and exercising? What about,
Yeah.
What about being at a healthy weight?
Food quality.
Yeah, so
nutrients.
Yeah, the one thing we know is that when they do these studies, these big sample size studies with thousands of people, those that eat more meat tend to be, they're looking at a lot of times as fast food meat, processed meat. Those that eat more meat, they're more likely to smoke cigarettes. They're more likely to not exercise. They're more likely to be overweight. They're more likely to overconsume calories. More likely to go and buy all this pop. And so they try and use the meat as the link. They could pick anything as the link.
Anything. There's so many different variables in that study that they could use.
So, and then those that tend to be vegan, they're more likely to be more health conscious. They'll exercising more.
They'll be in a calorie deficit.
They won't be exactly. They'll be slimmer or leaner. And then it's like, get a controlled study where you have, two groups of people, one on a vegan diet for a month, same calories or whatever, one on a,
same macronutrients
on a diet with some meat. Yeah, same thing, and then exercising, doing all that, and see how their blood markers change.
Yeah. And see if they're even really that different. I wouldn't think they would be. Like, if you had the same macros and you had very similar people that were going in with similar blood work.
Unless they're all on getting their protein from soy protein. Because that will have an influence of estrogen.
Yeah. I would say, but if they were doing something like rice protein, they'd probably be just fine.
Right.
Because I don't think it's necessarily like a terrible diet for you. We're not actually trying to be anti-vegan, but I just think that the way that they do like these totally bad straw man arguments against
it's horrible.
meat.
And you know what is cool? They did a documentary, which is actually pretty good, called Fathead. And it was basically a response documentary to what's that McDonald's documentary? Super Size Me.
Super Size Me. Yeah.
And so he's like, you know what? I'm gonna lose 30 pounds eating fast food every single day, every meal.
Yeah.
And I'm also gonna get my blood markers checked and look at my risk for heart disease, my risk for so on and so forth.
Super Size Me thing. He was eating 6,000 calories a day. Like, of course you can get fat.
I know he was eating more than he even wanted to. So anyways, this guy that did this fathead one, he ate at fast food restaurants every single day, every meal. And he lost 30 pounds over like 3-4 months. He ate only 2,000 calories a day, and his health improved. His health markers improved. He had lower risk of heart disease, and he was eating meat.
Yep.
He was eating meat, French fries, doing all that, but his health markers improved because they
less calories.
They'll never look at the big picture of exercise and calorie intake, and
it's too simple.
We're gonna spend like 2 hours watching this and just keep hearing them.
It's gonna be the same shit. Yeah.
This person that's 290 pounds that's eating 6,000 calories a day and also is eating meat is going to get diabetes or heart disease because of the meat. Show us an athlete.
Yeah, show somebody else.
And cholesterol is all over the place. You can hit tuna in water, that'll be almost less than a glass of milk, to salmon or tilapia, which is higher than a pork chop.
If you look objectively at fish, what you find is they've become essentially mercury sponges. And that's why in many parts of the country they warn you, don't have more than so many of these fish a week because it's getting too much mercury.
That's true.
Yeah.
Fish are eaten by bigger fish who are eaten by bigger fish, and these pesticides and herbicides bioaccumulate in the fish flesh, and the big fish, including the salmon.
Wait, why are there pesticides in fish?
Truth is, the amount of pesticides
are they swimming around the ocean?
I don't know.
And cancer-promoting properties.
They'll say, but don't
why would the pesticides be in the water?
I guess unless people are dumping pesticides in the water.
There's mercury and stuff,
Mercury doesn't make it healthy. It just makes it less toxic.
Farmed fish is by no means healthier.
Well, maybe they're talking about farmed fish.
That these animals have to be fed, similar to chickens and turkeys kept in confinement.
Have you ever had wild fish?
Yeah.
Oh man, it tastes awesome.
Well, it's amazing.
Like bass, like striped bass in the ocean. Shit.
Yeah, it's so good. Okay, wake me up when they say something good.
dioxins, being the most toxic man-made chemicals known to science, cause all sorts of things. They cause
so now they're talking about
they cause cancers, they cause endocrine
smokestacks.
Problems. Most of your
what are they talking about?
93%
Smokestacks,
from eating meat and dairy products because it climbs up in the food chain so effectively. So you can get exposed living near these incinerators and breathing it, but it'll take you 14 years to breathe in as much dioxin as a cow will ingest by eating the grass in one day.
Wait,
that dioxin will
the grass is what gives them the dioxin? Wait, hold on.
Because the factory releases this stuff, it gets into the grass.
So this argument is saying, this is interesting. It's saying this factory with the smokestack is releasing this dioxin into the atmosphere, which the cow only accumulates because he's eating plants.
Plants.
Wait, this seems like
and plus
there's a bit of a break in this.
Most cows that you're gonna get your protein from, they're not eating grass. They're feeding them grains, right?
Yeah, they're usually feeding them grains. But isn't that interesting? They're saying that that this dioxin is being ingested into the cows from the plants that it eats.
Vegan diet's not working for the cows.
Yeah. Right.
Meat or dairy products is going to get that dose of dioxin.
We got a pregnant woman.
Men have no way
drinking milk
to get rid of dioxins, but women have two ways. They're both involved.
Periods.
In the baby. One is that dioxin crosses the placenta into the growing infant.
Oh man,
and the other is that it comes out from the breast milk. So if you have a meat and dairy consuming mother breastfeeding that infant, then the highest impact.
But what about the plants that filter those dioxins, and now the stuff is trapped in the plant? They forgot to talk about that.
What about all these other animal products which are introducing? Imagine as the fetus is developing, introducing these very harmful toxins which create reproductive abnormalities, developmental problems, and hormonal issues right as the child is developing, the most critical stage of development.
It does make you worry when people say, don't you want to have a little bit of milk because you're pregnant? Don't you want to have some fish because you're pregnant? Who do you think is going to get the chemicals that are in there?
All these environmental toxins and toxins from the feed that they're being fed accumulate in their tissues and are released into the mother and unfortunately to the child when you eat these products when you're pregnant.
True. They're still comparing apples to oranges. Like meat in general, there's good meat and there's bad quality meat.
Yeah.
They're talking about bad quality meat, which I would agree. And like we tell people not to eat shitty meat.
PCBs have been banned since the 70s, but they persist in the environment. Dioxins, all of these compounds can create hormonal, reproductive, developmental damage as well.
That's true.
Eating organic beef.
That's also why it's nice to fast too.
Yeah, because you give your body that time every day.
Yeah.
Like dioxins, like strontium-90, because they fall out over all sorts of farm fields and water bodies, and they don't skip over the organic fields. And so really the contaminants are coming in regardless of how these animals are raised.
It's also going on the plants.
It is. Yeah.
It's also going on the vegan foods.
It's going into
everything.
All the same plants. It's weird that they ignore that.
I know.
This argument, if you're going to argue for like environmental pollution,
they're like it can't skip over the organic farms, but wait, it can skip over all the other foods.
All the other plants that are all farmed also.
I know. Just eat foods out of a factory.
Just ignore that. Yeah.
Just eat.
If you're going to take that environmental argument, like the environment, you're talking about polluting the environment, which is bad in general. But they just like correlate that to meat immediately, but they forget the fact that we also farm vegetables. We farm crops. Yeah, we farm grains. We farm everything else. And so with that logic, that those dioxins and those toxins would still be polluting our farms in general.
So eat nothing.
Eat the air.
Eat nothing.
Even the air you can't eat. No, you can't. There's toxins in the air.
Just kill yourself.
Terrifying, especially considering how much cheese I ate in my life.
Cheese is an amazing product.
I love cheese.
It's probably one of the single best foods at compromising health that you're going to actually feed to people. Think about it. You've got an animal product, so you've got all the issues of biological concentration. You have a highly processed food product. And not only does it have naturally a lot of saturated fat, but you put a lot of salt into it.
There's a strong link between
salt's good.
foods.
Wait, this guy is supposed to be an expert? Dude, this guy's like 300 pounds himself. Am I wrong?
And also there's an association between dairy foods and multiple sclerosis and
type 1 diabetes, which is an autoimmune disease, and other rheumatologic problems.
Cow's milk is baby calf growth fluid. That's what the stuff is. There's absolutely no child or human on earth who actually needs the milk of a cow any more than they need the milk of a giraffe.
I agree with that.
Yeah, you don't need milk.
In the world are lactose intolerant. I mean, that's the normal state
That's
of
true.
affairs. Why would your body create this enzyme to digest
Well,
lactose?
most people in the world, yeah. But I guess in North America, it's not as common. Like in Asia, it's like very common. Like in some countries, it's only up to 20%, but in other countries, like 80.
Yeah.
So,
Wait,
I mean,
so is this supposed to be about
well.
vegan? Is this supposed to be about a vegan diet? I mean, they're making this jump always to the vegan thing, but like it's called What the Health, so maybe because some of the stuff they say is fine, I would agree with, and then the other stuff they make this jump to the meat where there's no actual correlation.
70% of Native Americans and about 53% of Hispanic Americans are lactose intolerant.
Yeah, Asians.
Yeah, like lactose
Hispanics.
intolerance has nothing to do with meat.
Eat foods that it knows is going to make them ill. Ultimately, what that boils down to is the government is telling me as an African American to eat food that's going to make me ill for no health benefit, so that it will benefit dairy farmers as a form of institutionalized racism.
Wait, what did the African American?
That's a form of institutionalized racism.
racism?
I don't think they're just saying that same message to everyone.
Yeah,
they're not targeting you specifically.
No, where did that come from?
Institutionalized racism? What? Because the health industry is trying to tell people.
He was talking about like the food pyramid or something.
I think it's
racist.
The health industry is telling people to eat a certain amount of servings of dairy, but African Americans are more likely to be lactose intolerant. So he's saying like it's an act of racism. No, they're not. Like it would probably come off. They would be more upset if like black people, you can't have dairy. Then white people, you can have dairy.
Yeah, I don't know where that guy got that.
Well, yeah, I hate this trigger. This quick on the trigger. Like, oh my god, everything's racism. Because he's saying it's racist because they're saying you need to eat dairy, and then black people don't tolerate dairy. Well, but I guarantee you there'd be
Asians don't tolerate dairy very well.
Asians don't tolerate dairy very well.
Shoot, most people don't tolerate dairy very well.
Native Americans, Hispanics, but that for him it'd be way more racist if the health industry said black people don't eat dairy. They'd be pissed. They'd be like, what are you talking about? We can't have dairy.
Well, because they would
make
be
your own
explicitly
decision.
saying it, but that guy just pulled that.
And whoever eats based on the Americans' food guidelines or food pyramid.
Yeah, I don't know.
Consumption as a pediatrician, I see on a daily basis children suffering from conditions that are linked or associated to dairy consumption, such as eczema, acne, constipation, acid reflux, iron deficiency, anemia. Cow's milk protein is the most allergenic food.
People say, well, no, I want hormone-free, not injected with bovine growth hormone. But milk is this hormonal fluid, so it's just packed with sex hormones and natural sex steroid hormones like estrogen, progesterone. In fact, doesn't matter if it's conventional milk, doesn't matter.
You can get organic though, which won't be injected with hormones.
It's an oxymoron. Organic dairy has just as much saturated fat and cholesterol.
Oh, it has fat.
Yeah, no shit it does. No shit it has the same amount of cholesterol and saturated fat. What's
the same? It's the same thing. This has less hormones in it.
I mean, they actually have laws limiting how much pus you can actually have in a milk and still sell it. I believe it's like 750,000 pus cells per cc. Because, I mean, you wouldn't want too much pus. It would be like pure pus. People might object. In fact, you could think of cheese as kind of coagulated cow pus, if you would.
They did research on saturated fat and cholesterol intake in athletes, and it had no effect on their risk of heart disease because they're lean and healthy.
Yeah.
Lyle McDonald did a good article on that.
Osteoarthritis of the hips, and actually I'm scheduled for 2 hip replacements. That's bone on bone. It's the grinding of the joints. My stability
I'll just hear the fingernails.
The bone on bone is scary, man. Oh, I don't even want to picture that. Strength train is the best thing you do for bone density.
Yeah.
Strength train.
Lift some weights.
Lift weights. I did my DEXA. My bone density was like top 99.9%.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, for my my age, height, weight kind of thing.
In kids and whether they get stress fractures and that kind of thing. And the kids who drink the most milk have zero protection. Milk
That's why women need a strength train, especially because they're most at risk.
Yeah, definitely.
And a large group of older women over an 18-year period, the milk drinkers had zero protection from fractures. So this old notion that somehow milk is going to build strong bones or protect your bones.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's not.
I agree with this.
That's right.
Have higher rates of hip fractures, have more cancer.
That's why we got to keep putting the info out, man. People aren't even looking at the right stuff.
I know. Highest rates of osteoporosis. So clearly,
because they're gonna just blame meat for all this.
Doing more research, I found that dairy was linked to many different types of cancer as well. Just like many of us, I thought that the majority of cancer was due to genes, but only 5 to 10% of cancer is actually genetic.
Any
agree with that
cancer is
too.
caused by a DNA mutation, but that's not enough. So that can cause that first cancer cell, but one cancer cell never.
Well, I think I think it is a mistake to be drinking tons of milk all day long, with all the hormones and stuff in it.
Yeah.
Like it's not. I remember when I was a kid or teenager, everyone was saying drink. Oh, even my grandma Patsy, drink the milk.
Yeah.
And I knew, I was like, no, this stuff isn't healthy. Like my only thing where I'll have like dairy is like if I want to have some cheese is my fix. I'll have like some nice low fat cheese and make some cheese quesadillas, and it's freaking delicious. Or once in a while,
it's usually the fat in the cheese that actually
has a lot of the hormones, right?
Yeah, it holds the hormones in
so if you get a lower fat cheese, you make my cheese quesadilla recipe in Kino Chef at kinobody.com/chef. Oh my god, delicious! It's insane. But I never drink milk.
Yeah, I never did either.
It's it's a glass of hormones.
I was just never even interested as a kid. I was like, this doesn't even taste good.
It tastes weird. Yeah.
So actually, I've drank probably like less than 10 cups of milk in my entire life.
If I want it, oh really?
Yeah.
I used to drink it with cookies, but I found out that like unsweetened almond milk is better.
No, I still don't even like almonds. I prefer something like just coconut milk or something.
Yeah.
Because almonds have been shown to increase SHBG.
I don't know if we'll finish this thing, dude. Because it's an hour and a half. We're watching it like at a 25% pace.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be like 6
the
hours.
Same stuff over and over.
Cancer cells, now we're running into problems. So we need to reduce the growth factors in our body, like IGF-1.
Oh, and fasting greatly reduces IGF-1.
Mm-hmm.
So fasting helps reduce the risk of cancer and aging.
Which I think is interesting because these guys, a bunch of these doctors that are on this, they run that fasting clinic.
Why are they not talking about fasting?
They're not talking about the benefits of fasting at all. Which is
fasting is a huge.
Fasting is way more
effect,
powerful than like fasting can cure. And that's interesting because they're not talking about it. However, at that fasting clinic, they've cured tons of people of cancer. They've cured countless people of lupus, but they didn't do it through the diet because it's not a diet clinic.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fasting clinic.
Right. They did through fasting. Isn't there something where like you're not technically allowed to say cured someone of cancer?
You technically.
Like, there's some
they,
sort of.
They couldn't claim it, so I guess they can't really maybe talk about it.
But they did, you know.
But people that went there and fasted with cancer.
And you know why? You know why they have that regulation? Because there's no money in telling them that they cured cancer from
if people
fasting.
Are hearing this. I was surprised that place even existed. I drove up from LA. I drove 7 hours to go to that place. It's in north of like Marin County, California.
Mm-hmm.
And I did just a 3-day water fast, like pretty simple. But there are people there that do 30-40 day fasts because they have cancer, and the fast their bodies will eat the tumors. It'll cure the cancer. Same with the lupus. It'll cure the lupus. It'll cure any autoimmune disease, and there are a lot of people there with type 2 diabetes.
And that's after like a 1 week fast, or how long?
Like 30 days.
Damn, dude. If I fasted for 30 days, I would be like 150 pounds.
Oh yeah, I'd be so skinny.
I'd be so freaking.
Well, your
skinny.
metabolism really just shuts down. At that
Yeah,
point.
so
it's going to preserve. You'll stay alive.
First week you probably lose 10-12 pounds.
Yeah.
Next week
I lost 11 pounds in 3 days.
Damn.
But you put it right back on after.
Yeah.
It's like water.
Let's keep going. I mean, we might not get through the whole thing because I think it's pretty redundant.
Yeah, they say the same stuff.
It's the same thing with just a different doctor, a different 300-pound case study.
Yeah.
Growth factor 1 is this cancer-promoting growth hormone involved in every stage of cancer cell growth.
Fast.
Any animal protein boosts the level of IGF-1.
Dairy products increases your risk for various forms of cancer, especially those related to your hormones. So breast cancer, prostate cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Probably true.
Yeah. This is not a product, even in its most pure state, you want to be consuming because it does come with risk.
I found out that dairy can increase a man's chance of getting prostate cancer by 34%.
Estrogen.
For women who've had breast cancer, just 1 serving of whole dairy a day.
And you know what's also interesting? There's some cool research on basically what they're kind of painting this negative picture in milk. There's some cool research, and Lon McDonald broke this down, but basically drinking dairy milk had an increased risk of osteoporosis of some of these diseases, but the same correlation wasn't shown with like cheese and yogurt. So for some reason, the cheese and the yogurt
fermentation.
Yeah, something like that. So those weren't nearly as bad as the milk.
Interesting. It was probably the fermentation, because a lot of foods, even soy has a similar thing. Like, there's plenty of research showing on like just factory soy, commercial soy that can cause all sorts of hormonal issues, but there is no research. There's no convincing research showing that same correlation with fermented soy.
And interesting.
Yeah.
So and then also there's another study showing like that those that ate dairy protein from like yogurt or like Greek yogurt or cheese had a lower body fat in some studies, but
there's a lot of probiotics in like
yogurt,
good yogurts, but
so,
not necessarily something like a yogurt.
But I would absolutely agree. Don't drink cow's milk.
Yeah. Plus, the stuff to get any probiotic benefit, it has to be unpasteurized, which typically is not sold.
Oh yeah, they don't. It's illegal actually. It's illegal to sell.
But you can find unpasteurized stuff
in California,
like the cheese and the yogurts. You can find that stuff in certain states like California, but typically it's hard to find in a grocery store. You got to find it at a farmer's market.
Yeah, it's in Canada. It's massively illegal to sell raw. You can do raw cheese, but not raw milk.
Yeah, it's interesting. Why?
Disease 49%, and dying from anything 64%. Why weren't breast cancer sites like Susan G. Komen warning everyone about this?
Well, because they would go out of business. That's apparently one of the worst
websites,
like charities. Komen, very corrupt.
Breast cancer. There was a study published in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute that found out women consuming dairy who has had breast cancer increases their risk of dying of breast cancer.
Because all the estrogen in the milk and stuff.
Why it's not on your website?
I mean, estrogen is terrible when it's out of balance. Wreak a lot of havoc.
Once again, another health organization rep saying someone else.
I don't like how this guy is just calling random people. Of course, they're not gonna know.
I know.
It's just some employee they're paying $8 an hour.
They're not running they're not putting the content in the site.
Yeah.
They didn't want to answer my questions in person either, and told us to stop filming, but promised they would connect me to the national office directly.
Yeah, he's talking to people that are just employees. Like, they don't know.
She's the receptionist.
Yeah.
Tell me, why are you not warning the people about this?
Breast cancer can be prevented with a healthy diet and lifestyle, but we're not. We're talking about pink ribbons and putting all the money into research for the cure. I, for one, know that I would want my daughter, my mother, me, I want to focus on not getting to that point, and that's where I would like to see more energy and effort put.
I had been a hardcore cheeseaholic virtually my entire life, despite the risks, but like so many others, I seem to have been addicted to it.
Cheeseaholic.
That the casein protein, that's the main protein in dairy products.
The skull.
Cheese. It breaks apart in the human digestion to create what are called casomorphins, casein-derived morphine-like compounds that go to the brain and they attach to the very same receptor that
heroin connects to you. Oh, dude, you want to eat some cheese?
Why people like cheese.
Do you want to eat some cheese and fucking go on a heroin binge?
Wait, you're more unhealthy than you've ever been, but that cheese just calls out to people.
Casomorphin may play a role in SIDS and sudden infant death syndrome, may play a role in autism.
That's why girls love my cheese quesadilla so much.
Why we don't want infants drinking milk from cows.
Because they'll become heroin addicts later in life.
Grams of casein per liter compared to 26 grams per liter for cow's milk. That's practically 10 times more. No wonder it's so addictive. This talk about addiction made me think about all the drugs animals are fed. I went to the headquarters of the Center for Food and Safety, the nation's...
I gotta call my rehab center, my local rehab center, and say, hey, I need to come in. Like, oh, what's the issue? I'm addicted to cheese, man. I'm addicted to cheese, man.
The casomorphins.
How many cheese people have they had at in rehab places? Oh my god. People fall for this stuff, though, eh?
Yeah, I mean, we think about this like health stuff all the time, but I know most people don't. So,
well, let's give it 10 more minutes and just
Yeah, 10 more minutes. I get kind of bored.
And we're only like 1/3 into it.
Drugs in our food.
So that we know of, there are at least 450 different drugs are administered to animals, either alone or in combination. These drugs are given to animals for a variety of reasons, very, very few of which are actually beneficial to consumer health.
We've got drug companies that work real hard to make sure they can sell lots of drugs
to people raising cows, pigs, and chickens.
The pharmaceutical industry sells 80%
believe that.
of all the antibiotics that it makes in the United States to animal agriculture. Antibiotic residues are found in meat.
Screw them.
Antimicrobials are found in meat.
Big pharma.
There's been ractopamine found in meat. There's been hormones found in meat. So right there, you're talking about 4 different drugs. It could be, in the same.
It's a big business.
The pharmaceutical company is supposed to show the safety of animal drugs. They're not really testing to see what the impacts of these drugs are on humans. They're really looking to see what the impacts of these drugs are on animals.
When we try to get information on some of the health studies and the environmental studies from federal agencies, we get back page after page of blacked out information because the company claimed confidential business information.
Consumers have no idea what is in the products that they consume.
So
True.
how sick something makes me and how
we gotta
bad
change
it is
this.
the environment.
Yeah,
is a
put pressure.
secret for a company.
In the animal agriculture industry, as in the tobacco industry, these companies really have a vested interest in making sure that the public doesn't have information about their effects and what risks are really posed to consuming them.
Big pharma's
This system where
screwed up
animals
stuff.
are living in their own waste. They're living next to animals that are sick or even dead, and they're stuck in cages with these animals. The bacteria tends to spread.
One day I want to have my own farm.
Really?
Just have my own animals.
In Texas?
Be like far away from stuff. In one of the states that doesn't have Texas. So probably Texas.
Other things that you eat, we have about 3,000 people die every year. In the United States, that's more than the number of people that were killed in 9/11 in the Twin Towers of New York. If we had some terrorist organization killing 3,000 people a year, we would be all over it. The antibiotic-resistant bacteria deaths that we have, on top of that, you'd get 20,000 people dying a year. That's 7 9/11s every year. Can you imagine if that many people were being killed by some terrorist group in the United States every year? We would find them.
That's not really a meat thing, the antibiotic thing.
No, it's not. That's a pharmaceutical thing.
That's a pharmaceutical issue, and the amount of antibiotic exposure you're getting, that's going to make yourself resistant to it. That's more so going to be from actually taking high doses of antibiotics,
which a lot of people do. It's actually really common. Tons of people.
That's why we got.
Antibiotics.
That's why you got the probiotic stuff.
That's why probiotics are so good. Like
we were drinking this Kavita.
And we had this good drink,
And then Chris has got one of his best-selling supplements people have been loving is Floracil.
Changes people's whole gut flora. Like it will totally help, especially people that have been on antibiotics. If you have to go on a bit higher of a dose of Floracil. I recommend 3 to 4 capsules a day until you can start feeling better, but it does work. It'll help you.
And I guess one of the important points, especially with watching this documentary, is it's hard to be perfect. In 2017, it's pretty hard to eat a perfect diet. So stuff like intermittent fasting, which is amazing for your health, lowers IGF-1, increases autophagy, which is your body's process at recycling waste materials, maintaining a lean, healthy weight, being active, eating nutrient-dense foods. These are all important things to keep you healthy despite being around different toxins.
Yeah.
So, you have to
you have to optimize the natural detoxification process with the fasting. And you're not gonna have like a perfect.
You can't have a perfect. I can't.
Yeah.
I mean,
but if you actively take certain measures and just use the energy equation, like don't overconsume energy.
Yeah.
Based on your metabolic rate and your activity levels, and then just do it.
Don't be in a hyper stress state, like where you're.
Yeah, don't have excess stress, because another thing they're not saying is like a lot of these diseases are literally the stress on the cellular level is the root cause of most disease, including cancer. It's that stress, that physiological stress, is what causes those epigenetic changes that trigger the cancer mutations.
Yes, I mean, you know what? If you don't have to be perfect, but if you do the right steps and you're maintaining a healthy weight, doing all this stuff, eating fruits and veggies and everything, your body can maintain a healthy, optimal condition without being perfect. Because really, the people they show you that have the most health issues, it's a lot of variables combined. It's a lot of things. That they're super overweight. They're eating tons and tons of excess calories and fats and sugars and junk. They're not happy. They're stressed out, because when you're that overweight, life isn't fun. You get aches and pains, and you get confidence issues. You can't sleep. You can't breathe properly.
Not having any sex.
You can't have any sex. Your hormones are all out of whack now because of all this excess fat. And then combine that with smoking and then this and that, and then all these different variables. Now your body has no ability at maintaining a healthy state.
Yeah. We should make a documentary.
Yeah. What the bullshit? Would you want to see if anything else comes out of this?
Let's say a couple more minutes.
A few more minutes.
I don't know. Seems like they say the same stuff.
Or be like Civil War medicine.
They're like talking about all these tangential. They're talking about these tangential issues that have nothing to do with meat itself, but more of like the current state of our system right now, which I would agree with a lot of the stuff, like the pharmaceuticals, the hormones, the antibiotics, all that is terrible. The toxins in the environment, that's bad.
Don't live near a pig farm.
Well, I wouldn't want to. Man, it smells terrible.
You can't see how it impacts the average person's life in Duplin County, North Carolina, and not be a little upset about it.
Wait, how?
From an environmental standpoint, from a community standpoint,
I think we're done.
All other aspects. North Carolina,
another obese guy.
We've already had bouts of swine flu, or H1N1 as they prefer to refer to it. That particular swine flu incident was originated on a farm here.
You know what's funny? For me at 5'10", I would be obese at 200 pounds, right? The BMI would say I'm obese at 200 pounds. And I've been like 195, and I was still like not fat. Like I was still kind of like
normal.
I was
guy.
bulkier, like athletic, but not like, I still had some hints of ab definition. And so when they show like these people are obese, they're morbidly obese with the health issues.
Yeah.
They're like the high end. So I mean, I think it might be getting into more of the environmental stuff, but I feel like
I agree with their environmental arguments. Like the state of the system right now, the way that it's done is not optimal. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want to wrap up with? I mean, we kind of just explained how they make these long leaps without backing up too many claims, and then it's a lot of the issues they're talking about is when you're super overweight, unhealthy, inactive. Yeah, that's a state for diabetes, heart disease. They won't show you an example of someone that's lean, fit, that lives a healthy lifestyle, that eats steak every night.
Yeah, with great blood work.
And an egg is equivalent of smoking 5 cigarettes. It's stuff just the cholesterol saturated fat thing. When you're eating in a massive surplus, you're inactive, and you have cholesterol and saturated fat, that can result in negative effects. But the common link there is being obese, having a mega surplus of calories. When you're burning off those excess calories, when you're in an equilibrium, you know what? You need some of that saturated fat and the cholesterol to promote your hormones.
Yeah, exactly.
So
they're not paying attention to the obesity itself, like the reason, which blows my mind too. Like, how do people not know that obesity, or no one claims it? Obesity is caused by energy surplus.
They didn't say that once.
No
No
one says it. Not even like the Obesity Society, which probably
I know they want to
searching for the cure for obesity. Donate money to us.
We're gonna find out what it is. What is? Yeah. I mean, but they said some stuff that's true. We got to focus on the quality of food, and tons of processed meats aren't optimal.
Yeah.
They had some factual statements. The carbs aren't evil. They said that's true.
Yeah.
So true. I mean, we kind of agreed with a lot of it, but then they made these big jumps.
They made jumps, and then they made these arguments that like they would like skip out on something, like the dioxin argument.
Yeah.
Very illogical. Like, the toxins in the environment are going into the grass and the plants that the animals are eating, and then the animals
in turn. What about the direct toxins into the other foods?
Plants, into all the crops that we're
which
eating.
Is a direct process. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not. And they made the argument like, these other organic farms don't escape those duh, and so the crop fields don't escape it either.
Yeah. So you know what? I don't know. Well, basically, we'll wrap it up here. If we finish this again, and there's anything else we need to address, then maybe we can do a follow-up
episode.
But I'm pretty sure it's just kind of the same stuff, or maybe they'll talk about environment or something. But this is we're taking this from a health standpoint.
Yeah. So I guess all in all, it's like, we agree with some of the stuff, disagree with logical fallacies and straw man arguments that they're making that are just pretty obvious. to push their agenda. But I mean, of course, there's going to be an agenda. No one ever makes anything unbiased.
No.
Why would you? If you believed in something, you're not going to make an unbiased thing.
And right? a good documentary to watch, what I actually kind of enjoyed, was Fathead. Watch this guy eat fast food every single day, which isn't healthy at all. We're not suggesting that in the least. Yeah. But he's eating fast food every single day. He's eating.
To prove a point.
Yeah, prove a point. He's eating 2,000 calories. He's in a deficit. He's walking every day. He's doing some light exercise, and because he dropped 30 pounds, he actually all his health markers improved.
Yeah, there was a dude who did that. A doctor that did that with Twinkies.
Twinkies or Oreos and something. Yeah. So
he lost 30 pounds with Twinkies.
Yeah. So pretty much, you don't need to freak out about meat.
Yeah, I guess that's the moral of the story.
Maybe don't eat tons of cow's milk though, with the heavy amounts of.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. And then, just pay attention to the quality of your food.
Mm-hmm.
Get the nutrients that you need for your body to function properly, and avoid foods that are treated with excess hormones and antibiotics and stuff that's going to be transferred, drugs that are literally going to be transferred in from that food into your body.
And a good health hack to do would be to fermented probiotics.
Fermented foods and take a daily probiotic like Florisil 50.
That's on your truthnutri.com.
Yep, truthnutri.com.
Yeah, so you can't strive to be 100% perfect, so you want to focus on doing the stuff we talked about: fasting, maintaining a lean weight, working out, probiotic, this stuff to optimize fruits and veggies, and your body can be in optimal condition.
Yeah. All right.
Without having to live in a cave 400 years ago.
Yeah, and you don't have to do any kind of radical stuff either.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for listening. If you like this show, definitely go subscribe in iTunes or Stitcher, Google Play, wherever you're listening to YouTube. And we'll see you on the next episode.
All right, peace.